Scrooge awoke in his bedroom. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove. The leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up in the chimney. Heaped upon the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, great joints of meat, pigs, long wreaths of sausages, minced pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, great bowls of punch, and immense 12th cakes. Upon this couch there sat a giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch.
Come in, and know me, better man. I am the ghost of Christmas presents. Look upon me. You have never seen the likes of me before. Fetch my robe.
Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. The room and its contents all vanished instantly, and they stood in the city streets upon a snowy Christmas morning.
Oh, Christmas tree, how are thy leaves so verdant? Oh, Christmas tree, how are thy leaves so verdant? Not only in the summertime, but even winter is thy pride. Oh, Christmas tree, how are thy leaves so verdant? Oh, Christmas tree, much pleasure doth thou bring forever.
Scrooge and the ghost passed on, invisible, straight to Scrooge's clerks, and on the threshold of the door the spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with the sprinklings of his torch. Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit.
What has ever gotten your precious father then? And your brother, Tiny Tim? No, his father, Tommy!
Cried the three young Cratchits, who were everywhere at once. In came Bob, the father, his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas, for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
And how did little Tim behave? As good as gold and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful, sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you've ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he hoped the people saw him in the church, because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember, upon Christmas Day, he made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Master Peter and the three young Cratchits went to fetch the goose, with which they soon returned in high procession. Mrs. Cratchit made the gravy ready beforehand in a little saucepan. Master Peter mashed potatoes with incredible vigor.
Miss Belinda.
Miss Belinda sweetened up the applesauce. Martha dusted the hot plates. Bob took Tiny Tim beside him to a tiny corner at the table. And the three young Cratchits set chairs for everyone, not forgetting themselves. And crammed spoons into their mouths, lest they should shriek for goose before their turns came to be held.
At last the dishes were set on, and grace was said.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Amen.
It was succeeded by a breathless pause, as Mrs. Cratchit, looking slowly all along the carving knife, prepared to plunge it in the breast. But when she did, and when the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight arose all round the board. And even Tiny Tim, excited by the three young Cratchits, beat on the floor with his crutch and feebly cried,
Hurrah!
But now, the plates being changed by Miss Belinda, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone to take the pudding up and bring it in. Mrs. Cratchit entered, smiling proudly with the pudding, like a speckled cannonball so hard and firm, blazing in half of a quartern of ignited brandy and bedight with Christmas holly stuck into the top.
Oaks, a wonderful pudding.
At last, the dinner was all done. The cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, and the fire made up. Then all the Cratchit family drew round the hearth, while the chestnuts on the fire sputtered and crackled noisily. They were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. And when they faded, and looked happier yet in the bright sprinklings of the spirit's torch at parting, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim, until the last. But the whole seemed cast off, and he and the spirit were again upon their travels. Much they saw, and far they went, and many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. Suddenly, as they stood together in an open place, the bell struck 12.
Stay, Cindy.
Scrooge looked about him for the ghost, and saw it no more. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him.
Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any specter I have seen so far. Will you not speak to me?
It gave him no reply. The hand was pointed straight before them.
Lead on.
Lead on, spirit, lead on. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me. I know it. Lead on.
They scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city rather seemed to spring up about them. But there they were, in the heart of it, amongst the merchants. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen. Observing that the hand was pointed to them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk.
I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead. When did he die? Last night, I believe. What has he done with his money? Somebody perhaps. She hasn't left it to me. That's all I know.
The scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bare, uncurtained bed. A pale light, rising in the outer air, fell straight upon this bed, and on it, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of this unknown man.
Spirit, show me some tenderness connected to the death, or this dark chamber will forever be present to me.
The ghost conducted him to poor Bob Cratchit's house, the dwelling he had visited before, and found the mother and the children seated round the fire. Quiet, very quiet. The noisy little Cratchits were as still as statues in one corner, and sat looking up at Peter, who had a book before him. The mother and her daughters were engaged in needlework, but surely they were very quiet. The mother laid her work upon the table and put her hand up to her face.
The color hurts my eyes. They're better now again. It makes them weak by candlelight, and I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father for the world when he comes home. It must be near his time. Past rather, I think he's been walking Tiny Tim upon his shoulder, very fast indeed. But he was light to carry, and your father loved him so that it was no trouble, no trouble. And there's your father at the door.
She hurried out to meet him, and Bob came in. His tea was ready for him, and they all tried who should help him to it most. Then the three young Cratchits gathered at his feet and said,
Hello, Father, don't be grieved.
Bob was very cheerful with them and spoke pleasantly to all the family. He looked at the work upon the table and praised Mrs. Cratchit and the girls.
You went today then, Robert? Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. You'll see it often. I promised him that I'd walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child.
Spirit, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me, who is that man whom we saw with the covered face, dead, on the bed?
The ghost of Christmas yet to come conveyed him to a dismal, wretched, ruinous churchyard. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went, and following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge.
No, Spirit. Was I that man whom we saw lying upon the bed? Why show me this if I'm past all hope? Tell me I may change my fate by an altered life. I'll honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. Tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone, Spirit.
Holding up his hands in one last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own to make amends in. He was checked in his transports by the churches ringing out the lustiest peals he had ever heard. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist, no night, clear, bright, stirring, golden day.
What's today?
Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in Sunday clothes.
Yeah? What's today, my fine lad? Today? Why, Christmas Day! Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. Hello, my fellow. Hello. Tell me, do you know the poulterers on the next street, but the one at the corner? I sure hope I did. A smart boy, an intelligent boy. Do you know whether they have the large turkey, the prize turkey they had hanging there? Not the small prize turkey, but the big one? What, the one as big as me? Yes, my boy. It's hanging there now. It is. Go and buy it. Walk. No. I am in earnest. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here, as I want to give them directions on where to take it. Come back with the man, I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes, I'll give you half a crown.
The boy was off like a shot.
I shall send it to Bob Cratchit. He shan't know who sent it. It's twice as big as Tiny Tim.
Scrooge dressed himself, all in his best. And at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present. And walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded every one with a delightful smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humored fellows said,
Good Merry Christmas, sir. Merry Christmas, dear. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
He was early at the office next morning. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1/4 past. No Bob. Bob was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Bob's hat was off before he opened the door. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen, as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
What do you mean by coming in here at this hour?
I'm very sorry, sir. I'm behind my time.
You are? Think you are. Come this way, my friend. I'll tell you, Bob, I'm not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. Therefore, I'm about to raise your salary.
Bob trembled.
A Merry Christmas, Bob. A Merry Christmas, and I've given you many a year. I will raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all, and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was his second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but his own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. May that be truly said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. So bring us some figgy pudding, oh bring us some figgy pudding, oh bring us some figgy pudding and a cup of good cheer. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't go until we get some, we won't go until we get some, we won't go until we get some, so bring some right here. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish